Hello and welcome back to Carnival World Talk. I really hope you've been able to have a good Christmas and a nice New Year. I know we're all back in lockdown now, so it's probably not the New Year that we wanted. It definitely isn't the New Year that we wanted, but hey-ho, we have to rock on with these things. But I just wanted to give you a small little update in the intro about where your Buy Me a Coffee money has been going. We've recently been able to purchase some new equipment to make the podcast even better. And we're still achieving this live stream as soon as we can. COVID restrictions, we're not able to do it at the moment. So if these restrictions get eased anytime soon, then we will definitely be bringing you this live stream. I would like to also touch very briefly on another special live stream again that's going to be happening. I'm not going to say too much more about that because I want all the emphasis to go on Michael's live stream, and I know he's the perfect guest. He's the perfect guest, actually, to do this first ever in conversation live stream with. We met before Christmas, and we spoke through the episode and where we were going to go and how it was going to work, and we were all ready to go. And then, unfortunately, lockdown hit in Wales, and that caused our producer, SD, to be otherwise engaged with an event up there. So it's just a little brief insight to what's been happening. I don't want to keep you any longer, but I did want to update you on where that money's been going, and I really, really do appreciate the fact that you've give us that money and when we've used it properly. I would also just like to say thank you again to all those guests who participated in our Majorette series. You'll see that we're calling this Series 2, and in Series 2, we're going to be visiting some true Morris icons, and I hope that they'll bring you a little bit of joy. And just, I wanted to live up to the name Carnival World, and I didn't want to just talk to loads of majorettes, and I didn't want to talk to loads of Morris. And I do have some other ideas and ventures of where to go next. But for now, we're going to talk to some Morris icons. And where best to start than Wendy Lewis from Hagfold. If you don't know Wendy, then you basically must have been living under a rock for the last 44 years. But Wendy runs a successful troupe called Hagfold Morris Dancers, and they've won many titles. And Wendy talks about her mum and dad, ironically, not being interested in Morris, and swiftly moving on to some very, very memorable stories, some of which I never knew happened and are absolutely comedy gold moments. Wendy's Hagfold family is that. It's a family. And she touches a lot on the fact that, like, girls stay, and they stay for a reason, and it's that reason, that family feel. So I really do hope you enjoy this first episode in our Series 2 of the Morris Icons. And I'm going to hand it over now to Wendy Lewis. Wendy Lewis from Hagfold, thank you very much for being our first Morris guest. And I'm sure everyone's going to be hanging on the edge of their seats, really. Most of your dancers, and I suppose most of the Morris world as well, know who you are. But for many of others, they don't, and you've been around for a long time. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Right, my name's Wendy Lewis. It was Nee Shuttleworth. I'm 60 this May. I work full-time as a company director in a cable manufacturing company, and I've been the principal of Hagfold for 44 years. I was 16 when I started Hagfold. I have a partner called John, who's an ex-international rugby player. I've got one son and 2 stepchildren and 8 grandchildren, as well as running my Morris dancing team. So when I said Shuttleworth, I've mentioned that because my mum and dad was heavily involved in the carnival world. So a lot of like oldies from majorettes entertaining and Morris dancing would know my mum and dad as Joan and Fred Shuttleworth. So I'll go into that in a little bit. So my story behind dancing was my mum and dad moved me. We moved locations, housing locations. And I was an only child, and to make new friends, my mum took me along to a dancing team called 12 Apostles. I was probably 7 or 8 by this time. And that was a lady called Mrs. Barton. My mum and dad got involved with dancing, and my mum started her own team called Bedford Caravels. She had that team for a few years, and the team went on to be now called Hope Car, which is still in existence, which now was Lillian Battersby, who is now Lillian Collier, and she is now the GTMDA association with Lee Dodsworth. Yeah. So I'm still very close to Lillian, so I bet people didn't know that. And quite a bit of family member. And then when I did have my son and I went back to work, Lillian was a childminder and minded my son while I went back to work. So that's a connection that people might not put together, you know, in the Morris dancing world. So I danced probably only till about 12 or 13. And my mum and dad had got really heavily involved in Morris dancing then. And my dad started to do public address. So he did all the music for carnivals. So he went up and down the country. He had a big blue transit van and a caravan, and he did it for Mr. Kearns at Minneco, Fred Bennett, Dick Wilkie, who would have been like Rita's dad, doing LCA, and for NRCO, which was a big organisation then. And my mum was judging, and she was also heavily involved, and she was the secretary of the Minneco's Carnival Queen of Great Britain. By this time, I'd lost complete interest in Morris dancing, and I didn't go along with them at all. I'd gone. So then, as a young teenager, once I had a Saturday job, but every now and then I would go along to a nice carnival for a day out with my mum and dad because they used to make me. And my interest returned at an NRCO competition. There was a team dancing called Pool Stock, and they was from Wigan. They had a very high standard of dancing, and they was trained by a couple called Pat and Jack Bradley. And they asked to dance over the holidays to help them out, which I did. I learned lots from Jack. His training techniques was then, he had a stick. He wouldn't be allowed to do that, but he had a stick. If you didn't lift your legs up high enough, he'd smack your ankles with them. I don't think we'd be able to do that now. So I was in the seniors at Pool Stock when I was about 15, because the ages wasn't like they were now. And we used to do the knockout competitions in the evenings. Pool Stock is an area in Wigan. And the leader of Pool Stock was Kath, and she is the trainer of Vogue now. So I don't know if you know Kath from Vogue, but she was the senior leader when I danced at Pool Stock. Anyway, I finished again with Pool Stock, and I was happily getting along with my nice little life while my mum and dad were still going off every weekend with the caravans. Some of the events that he did then used to be like Saturdays and Sunday events on these outdoor carnivals. Everything was outdoors, as you know. They did all the parks, Withens Park, Eaton Park, all the bank holidays. And then he did some, they started an organisation up called Greater Manchester, which Dave Winstanley ran, and his wife trained Lancashire Rosettes as well. So sometimes they'd ask me to go along, and they'd ask me to judge. By this time, I was probably about 15. So I was judging then at that age the likes of Salfordettes and Mont and Ladybirds, but I still didn't want to dance. So, but I just went along sometimes. Then, in 1977, the Queen's Silver Jubilee year, my mum was approached to organise Silver Carnival, which she ran for many years. She was approached by Wigan Council that a brand new community centre was up to open on Hagfold Estate, and she would help them start a dance class there. So my mum went along to see what it was all about. And when she got there, she said there was a full room of girls sat in leotards with black pumps on, enthusiastic and hopeful that they were going to get a dancing group. So she came home and said, Wendy, you will have to come and show the girls how to dance. I was 16. She said there's a committee and the 2 girls can actually dance. So if you just come for a few weeks until we can get someone to take it over, will you please do that? So I agreed that I'd go for 3 weeks only. And that was that. So now I've gone for 44 years, every Monday and Wednesday, same venue, same place, 6:30 to 9 o'clock, every Monday, every Wednesday. And I still do.
Wow.
I've carried on doing it. I'm not sure. But that's the story of how I've all started. And the Wigan Council said that if I use the name Hag Fold, it's a council estate in Addison, if I use the name Hag Fold, they would start me off with £500 worth of funds.
Wow.
So that's how we become called Hag Fold. It's like it's been abbreviated to all sorts, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But I'm sure everybody, we're a well-known established troupe, so everybody knows like who we are now. So that was how I first started.
Wow. I think for me, just you saying the same, just being in the same community centre and it's just crazy.
Years. Yeah. Wow. We're like the longest running people what are still in the centre, so it's like blocks, boots, Mondays and Wednesdays for us.
Yeah, nobody takes over.
And we just got the same time. I've got 6 lines now, but sometimes I've had 7. So you can't do it in one practice night. So it's split over 2. And I've always gone twice a week. So I come in from work at 6 o'clock and go back out at 6:20 and get back home at 9:30.
And just not switch.
So this lockdown's really difficult for me because I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah. In that, you mentioned I would kind of backtrack a little bit. You mentioned knockout comps. Is that something that Etico brought back a couple of years ago? Is that the same thing, or is that totally different?
No, they did them at night. They did them in the evenings.
Oh,
so
wow.
They did them in Plattbridge's club. Plattbridge used to do one, and they did one in the Poolstock club. So you got like 12 teams. And they said it was on a Thursday. So just that night, your tinies and your juniors and seniors, like 3 teams would go and dance.
Yeah.
And then you'd do 4 rounds, and then whoever won that time, the following, then you'd have 2 semi-finals and then a final. And they did that in the winter to keep you interested.
Wow.
And we used to do loads of them. It was quite popular. You did knockouts in the Blackbridge used to run one in their club. Sadly, that's not down now, but and then in the pool, they were like in labour clubs, if you like. Everybody love it. You used to go get pipes,
and then it's just
Mum and Dad. Yeah, they used to start at 7. Nobody bothered that the kids didn't get home till like 10:30. Nobody bothered then.
It's just
they used to do them on a regular basis.
I think it's good when you've said about keeping people kind of involved, motivated, so to speak. Because you do kind of sometimes you kind of get to a stage, don't you, where you kind of you've done it all and you kind of feel like, am I not enjoying it as much now? And then you kind of, if you did those knockout comps, that's something totally different to what you're doing every Sunday.
What we do at Hag Fold is you focus on your dancing from March till October. I always don't get anything. They have a presentation in the first week in November.
Yeah.
And then at the presentation night, they get the treats. And they're always for January and February.
Yeah.
So, you've got your season starting in March. You're out every Sunday. We dance every single Sunday. We only have bank holidays off. And they know that. So, they know when the champ's there, because they get a diary. We get the dates with the diary.
Yeah.
And I ask them, try and avoid booking off when it's champs.
Yeah.
And then they do a presentation in November, so they've got that look forward to. Then they get the tickets and the surprises for what they're going to do, and we plan them in for January, February, and March. January and February, so it's like keeping them interested. They always won't come, and we do an open day as well in end of February.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple of times.
They dance their dances, but only for their own mums and dads.
I suppose
as a practice.
do you get many who don't come, you know, on a Sunday? Many mums and dads who don't come on a Sunday?
Not now.
No. Yeah.
Nobody puts the if we went back when we start going through the years and we think like we started off and we had a buzz, everybody got on the buzz, and you all went and you all came home at the same time. But that doesn't happen now. Nobody will send the kids anywhere. Not many people send them on their own.
Yeah.
And I'm finding sometimes that there's only like 25 or 30 on my buzz.
Wow.
But if I ever said to them all, you all have to get on the bus, they won't fit on it. And they won't fit on.
I think for me, I know we'll kind of come back to talk about the buses because you did mention that when I asked you to do this. For me, my best way to explain this really, from when I was a youngster, the troupe that my mum was with, Larkettes, they had a bus, and I always say I probably wouldn't be half the person I am now if it wasn't for being on the bus, because it was just like a totally different, you know, the camaraderie of being on the bus.
I travel on the bus still every week. And when I don't go on the bus, I feel like I've not done a proper day. I feel like I don't. You get on the bus and you all have a chat and a plan, and you see what you're doing, and the same people. The people that are genuinely staying there all day, I think it is. I think all my old ones, if you talk to them, if we're going to Blackpool, everybody gets on bus. But if we're going to somewhere where there's nothing going on, sometimes they don't want to stay all day in these sports halls now because it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, I suppose that is a big thing, really. It isn't like it used to be. And I always say, like, I've got a little boy now, and obviously he goes to comps because his mum's in the majorette world, and I always kind of think that he's missing out because they don't have a bus, so they all travel in cars, and they, you know, everyone just kind of fends for themselves in terms of a lift. And I just think, like, sometimes I say to her sometimes, you don't really know what you're missing, you know, like the whole reading the cards, being on the bus, you know, you're having those little moans, tantrums, however way you want to do it.
Yeah.
And you let it all out, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's like
you do.
You're in a car.
I always travel on bus and go on bus. I do.
Yeah. And I suppose you've got to.
Just being part of it, yeah. But the majority, I'm saying sometimes there's not very many, but obviously I said to them all, come on, get on the bus this week because it's not paid. You're also not like covering your costs.
Yeah.
Even though we've got our own bus, we did have our own bus. I'll get to that. I sold it in the lockdown. I sold it. Yeah, I sold it. The red one. I've had 3 buses, so I'll get off to them in a bit. Got a favourite bus, this one.
Wow.
Somebody made me a ceramic copy of my bus. So I can show you, but I got some pictures as well. But we sold it, Somebody put a brick through the back window where it's parked. It's parked on my work, and it's all cambered up.
Yeah.
So I put a brick through it on the back window. So I advertised on a bus site, has anybody got a window that we can come and pick up? And this man said, you can come to Barnsley for £60. So I don't know whether you know, my bus driver Keith is friendly with Eric, who used to be the bus driver for Silhouette.
Yeah, I've seen that a little bit on Facebook.
They jumped and went for the window. And then I said to him, don't put it in, because it might think it's a game. Let's not put it in until we're going out again in a few more months, which never happened. And a man came on the site saying, I won't buy your bus. I've seen your bus. You want a new one? Are you interested in selling it? Because we want it for our... I've done this every time. Somebody's always come for it for a museum. We need it for our heritage, something or other. So I went, well, yeah, but you'll have to pay this bit, and I need it in cash. And he come with money.
Oh, wow.
So I just thought I might as well get it sold, because I was still paying insurance on it. And I thought, it's not moving, and I quite never really liked that red bus. So I took my money and thought when we set up again, we'll look
Cross
at us
that bridge.
coach maybe or something else. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's gone now. We made one. So yeah.
So I suppose when we've kind of spoke about how Hagfold started, how has it remained a successful troupe for so long?
How has it remained? I think because people have stuck with us for so long. There's lots of generations through a Hagford. I know I can't emphasise how much it is like a family. So as the girls get older, they seem to have had girls. And I've got like grandmas what still come, whose daughters used to dance, who's now the granddaughters dance, and some of them are the great granddaughters dance. But I think I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but it's definitely you have to be 100% committed, and you have to have a committed team around you that be as successful as what you do, and you've got to treat them all the same. The girls need to treat the same, and you've got a lot of teams focus on the seniors, and it's lovely for have a nice seniors, but everybody's got to remember that your babies and your dinkies make your seniors, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong.
I think sometimes, I mean, a couple of times in my podcast with the majorettes, I've tried to talk a little bit about that, and I kind of hate the term, but it seems like the perfect term to use is just like Mickey Mouse troupes who start up because certain things have happened, and they take a load of girls and they start up, and then they realise soon that it's not just a Wednesday night practice and a Sunday night going out. There's everything else in between that you don't see. And I think exactly like you've just said then, being committed is 100% the start of any successful troupe.
And I think if you instill that into your girls and you don't ask them to do you don't expect them to do anything that you can't do yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that it's mindset, and I think that it goes a long way from in the lives as well. You know, I think you're teaching them discipline in everything. If you're going to be reliable for your dance teacher, you're going to be reliable. You know, I can't tell you how many job references I've done, you know, you know, for them all. And you've got a good story to tell about them, you know, you really have.
I suppose, everyone's got their own.
They're not allowed. I'll tell you a little story that when we worked. When I first started working, and then they asked me to take that on, I said, I'm not director material, I can't do that. And my boss said, treat your workers like you treat your girls at mouse dancing. I said, you can organise all them girls, so you can organise this work for me, it's no problem. And I said to him, he said, what would you do? There was like an incident. He said, what would you do if that man was in your team and you weren't performing? What would you do? And I went, drop him. He said, well, there you go then. You need to sack him. Or like with the girls, like they're not allowed, if they're old enough to have a mobile phone, if they can't come to practice or they can't come on a Sunday, they're not allowed to text. They've got to ring.
Yeah.
Because I do think if you won't let somebody down, it's much harder doing it by phone than doing it by text. So they're not allowed to text you. They're not allowed to text me, they've got to ring. Well, obviously, you'd expect if it were a child, the parents would give you a ring, but they're not allowed. Or even if they can't come practice, they've got ring. Can't text. It's not allowed.
Yeah. I think it's such... And obviously, people abide by it, don't they? They, you know, that's all they know, so they stay, and that's their ways, and sometimes when some people
I've never had a breakaway. I've never had any girls go to another line, except the ones that I've said, right, off you pop. You're not stopping any longer, or you're listening. You know, I have done a few ones. You're never going to reach the standard.
Yeah.
And you might need, you know, you might be better go into another little team. You know.
And it's better to tell somebody that than sugarcoat them for so long, and you know, either way, somewhere down the line someone's going to get hurt by it, as opposed to you
It
just
is
saying at the
because they're coming to you
start.
every week saying, why is our structure body not in the line? Why they're not in the line? Well, they're not in the line because you can't go in the line. If they could
Yeah.
go in the line, they'd be in the line. And there's just some people that you can't pick the legs up and get them doing it right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Some people just don't click. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't click with them. So you can't always do that. So
Go on
got some
then.
more stuff written down. I
Go
don't
on.
know what else you want to talk about.
I think, I suppose moving forward then in the history over the last, when we talked before about organisations that you've danced under, I touched on a couple of times that I'd seen you at LCA, but it seems more so that Etico's been your home for so long. Is that?
It's only been my own for the second half, to be honest.
Okay.
I started off as a Monaco team. I pulled off. We did like 12 months of growing into being, I'm very competitive. So we did 12 months. When I did decide that this was going to be a troupe, you've got to think now, I was 16, 17, this was going to be the best troupe ever in the world. So from all these new kids what danced, I used to make them, they used to come to my house. Like, so, you know, you're only young then, so you didn't have any other commitments.
Yeah.
So I was having people dancing in your living room, you know, like 3-1 that, until you got them to be able to do it. So by the first year, we were like creeping in, like seconds and thirds, even on the first year. They didn't have divisions then, so it's only a first division. And I was like, right, next year, now you're in the places. Next year, we're going to be going out and we'll be up there. We'll be winning. And to be honest, we did. But when I was growing up, we did keep to some of the smaller organisations where you will kind of win, but it's building the girls' confidence up as well, so that you can get out there and get in with the big guns, if you like. When I was like at Monaco at that time, full stock, Standish Lower Ground, which is like Gidlow, which is who Elaine would dance for, who's Monaco's secretary now. And then you got Flatbridges and the Pembertons and Salfordettes. They were like the Monaco teams of that time. So like once I'd got in there then and you started winning the troops at year and the champs at Pontins, I started getting a little bit braver then and thinking, I need to, because my dad were doing music for Rita, at Dick and Rita. It were like Rita's dad then, what we're running, what we're doing LCA.
Yeah.
I thought I'll go and try my chances there, and then that's when I came across Marganettes and Zodiac and Embassy. See, I've never seen them, but they weren't my style of dancing because we've always done the down step. And they do the kick. They've always done the kick. So that was like the difference. But I'll just touch on that story of going to LCA. She then said, then I got into like NCA, if you like.
Yeah.
I just like in 1984, you know, they were running the Isle of Man. Did you ever go Isle of Man?
I did. I think when I was born, Monaco was still running it, so that was when I'd kind of gone when. I think Monaco had it, and then Steve Jory used to do some for the majorettes. So I was only young at the time, so...
Right. When I went to Isle of Man were quite big, and everybody was saying, let's go. And I thought, I can't just take Agfull. They weren't quite ready for Isle of Man. So, listen to this. I decided that I'd said to Maureen from Flatbridge, she was going in 1984, can I come and dance in your line? So I went and danced for Flatbridge. I went for a week's holiday with my mum to Isle of Man with Flatbridge and danced. So with Maureen and Anne-Marie, who were still with Flatbridge now, I danced in the line in 1984 and thought, yeah, I'm going to give this a try in 1985 without fall. But why I'm here now, I'm going to go around and find best hotel we can't find on front and book it a year in advance before anybody else does. So that's what I did. So in 1985, I took all my tribe to Isle of Man. My mum flew it, and we put the bus on the midnight ferry from Morecambe at 12 o'clock, got off at 6 o'clock and lined up and danced at 9 o'clock because
Wow.
they had an Isle of Man competition on the Saturday where you all dance.
Yeah.
And then you
They
had a
used to do the
day off.
worlds, didn't they?
And then they did the world,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, that later on. So, and I did 5 years, 5 continuous Isle of Man.
Wow.
So I did. So my ambition was to beat Margaret.
Yeah. And did that ever happen?
Yeah, it did, yeah, because they
Wow.
were fabulous. They were and Zodiacs. I loved all that style. They were my Tiny's won a world champs while I was there, and we won the Isle of Man. But my seniors were never, did not. Them girls then, they'd never been Dinkies, Tinies, and Juniors. They were like juniors and made into seniors, if you like.
Yeah.
So even though they were nearly there, they always got placed, but we were never quite there. We didn't have the experience. But in 1985, we went to one of Marion's weekends, what was held at the Winter Gardens. And we all thought we were at Bee's Knees when we went there, dancing in the Spanish ballroom. And the competition results came out. Let's just going back a little bit. They had, it was the first time they did the cannon and ball prize. So whoever was on at the Winter Garden show, the prize of the NCAA was you got £1,000 and you got a night out with the people who was on the show. So that particular year, it was cannon and ball. So when they come through the results, they marched every team, so every majorette team, every entertaining team, every Morris dancing team, lined up on Central Pier, and you walked from there, and then you queued up a step, and each troupe had got 1 minute to impress the judges, right? And we were number 35, and I've got a big number 35 on my shirt. And we all went in and lined up, and we all sat there listening to results. And my Tinies and Juniors, they'd come in the prizes, and it come to Senior Morris, and she always went third, second, first. Nothing. We didn't come anywhere. Rubbish. I didn't expect us to, and I thought, we've not won. So, you know, when you're on full Grand Prix, you start taking your laces out because you know you're not going anywhere. So I started doing that, and my friend went, right, the highlight of the day now is we're going to announce who wins the night out with Cannon and Ball, a full year's advertisement, and £1,000 in cash. So they did a third, and then they did a second, and my friend's going, she's looking at you. You've got number 30, and I've got this big number 35. She's looking at you, and I'm going, bugger off, like, you know. And then next minute is the winner's at number 35. So we all goes running up on stage like lunatics. And yeah, we was the first team that won the prize.
Wow.
So we took away the £1,000. They put a full advertisement on our bus which I sent a picture of. And then when the show opened, we got invited. We did a display at the show with Cannon and Ball.
Wow.
And we got tracksuits and like uniforms to wear, and then they paid for our hotel, and then we went to the opening party of the show held in the Winter Garden.
Wow.
And we all went to went up to the bar. I'll have half a lager. I went to it's a free bar, so we're all here. Oh, you know, but there were 16 seniors of us, so it was absolutely brilliant. We went back the year after, but it was Freddie Starr, and I don't know if you remember, Darren X won it the year after.
Okay.
Freddie Starr won, they won that one. So that's a bit of a claim to fame. So I sent you a picture of us with Tommy and Bobby.
Wow.
So it was a really good experience. We sat down, full meal and everything. It was amazing. I think Marion came with us.
Obviously,
yeah. So that was that one. Let me think if there's anything. I've written some more down.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then,
I would never,
I know,
obviously
it's
nowadays.
that. Honestly, all the other Morris troops will remember it. It's mad though when you look back. So as well, we're going back to Isle of Man. We joined in all the fun competitions, and they did like in luminous parades at night, if you remember.
Oh my
well,
God.
my dad being my dad, he decided that he'd get in touch with HSS Io
Oh no.
of Isle of Man, and he'd like rig these lights up, and he lit us all up, all the way around, and we went along the promenade, illuminated. Everybody else had like little sticky strips on, and well, not as well. We really had Blackpool Tower. We had like strings of lights with this HSSI van in front of us. So we've always like aimed big. So and then I just like enjoyed flirting about to different organisations. So I've got so in my time we did Monaco, and then we did the LCA and NCA, and sometimes the Guild of Wales with Monaco, and then we a little bit of Merseyside and in between.
Okay.
And then Nemdicor and Stanton. I went there a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then like over the last 2 years, I really enjoyed dancing with Tracy at Troupe. And I think it's good to mention that I think that organisation has been really good during the lockdown of keeping the members active.
Definitely.
Really, really can't fault it.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you've not been a member, they've been allowed to join in. I've just like enjoyed watching. I love little ones. I love babies and dinkies. They're my favourites. So I've liked watching all the little marching competitions and that. But I think she's done an outstanding job, because I know she works full time as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good. The last 10 years that I've followed, I've delegated a person to each line, and Laura, who helps me. So it's not been as binding, but I couldn't come home now from work and start trying to teach kids online for dance anymore. It's gone beyond me now.
Yeah.
But we've got our own little groups where we keep in touch with them. But I couldn't. I don't think I could start. You know, like trying to do online.
Yeah.
It's an hands-on thing, definitely. But I think all our kids are missing one another.
I think it's hard. I mean, we spoke a little bit before we come on about, you know, kind of like 2020 and how it's kind of been. And obviously you mentioned about not doing any virtual practices or anything like that. And obviously I've always respected that sometimes it does work for people and other times it doesn't, you know, because a lot of the kids would see each other at school, and then you're trying to kind of do these virtual practices and they're just not as, you know, you're not getting the benefit of it more so than being in the training hall.
When it stopped in March, we didn't do anything. Well, we tried to encourage them to send us a practice every Wednesday, and they probably did that for 6 weeks. I'll send us a video. They didn't want to share it on site. Then one night I said, right, I want one off you all, or else you all have to do a forfeit. So I got them off seniors then. They all did one. and then when you could meet up, the centre never opened, but there were a nightclub in Atherton, and they let us go in and practice because the bars could open.
Oh, okay.
They let us go in, but they could only do Mondays. So because I have 2 nights, what I did, I saw my girls every other week. So like the seniors, the juniors, and the tinies came every other Monday, and the babies and the dinkies and the seniors too came on the alternate Mondays. Yeah. So we did all that till September. So we probably did June, July, and August, and we were dancing then. They all came back. Nobody didn't come back. They all came back, and then we said, right, September we'll get back in centre. So we got back in September and decided that let's pretend we've just come back from Pontins and we're getting ready for next February, which would be next month, and let's start again. Some of them wanted to change the dances. Senior 2 didn't because they liked their new one, but Senior 1 did only like bits of it. So we started again with the hopes that we'd be right. So we did all September, and then we had to stop again. So, but since then, I've just left them. October, November, December, I've just left them. I've just let them get on what we're doing, organise the bit of Christmas that. And in January now, I've not really reached out to them yet because I don't know, because I've been waiting to see if it's going to get better, but it's going worse.
Yeah.
It's going worse.
Yeah, and I know like.
Well, obviously, anyway, because they'll all be fat.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put weight on. They'll be terrified seeing me.
I think as well what you mentioned before, touching on the fact that obviously January and February were your kind of treatments as well. So I know you used to go to the Empire and watch the panto, or you do things that
Yeah,
kind of appeal
we've
to.
transferred that to like to January 22, and like
Yeah.
the last Saturday in January is always the seniors weekend. So like this weekend, we would have all been going out. Like last year, they came into Liverpool, absolutely like loved it. We went watching the Spice Girls one year, but last year they just came around. Like the bus driver dropped them all off at 1 o'clock, and then picked them all back up, like at midnight.
Yeah.
And they absolutely they love anything like that. And like last year we had the panto cancelled.
Yeah.
The babies, Dinkers and Tinies, had a sleepover under the sharks, in SeaWorld at Blackpool. I'd organised that. That got cancelled. And with Boots and Booze cruise for summer, and that's been cancelled.
Yeah.
So we've really, if we don't get together and dance, we'll have to get together and spend our money on
somewhere else.
Yeah, but there's so many things they were looking forward to.
Yeah.
And like we always got Benidorm, so in last May, 2 of the ladies were 50, and one was getting married, and it was a hen party, and that was cancelled. And we've moved it all to this May, and I don't even think that'll happen either.
Yeah.
So I think not just dancing with us, it's because we keep everything else going that keeps it as successful, because nobody wants, if you finish dancing, that's it, you can't come on and do. You know what I mean?
I think everything you've just described is just like the kind of pinnacle of why I say that there's, unless you're in the bubble of what we do, you will never truly understand what we do.
No, you won't.
Because you can never. Some people can never understand why I would like turn a job down on a Sunday, or like, oh, you're gonna turn like that much down for, and you're like, well, yeah, like it's champs weekend, or it's this, or it's that, and you're like, I wouldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? I'd be out of pocket and go and do that than ever, ever kind of jeopardize doing it. And some people kind of go, you're just mad, you're just crazy, and you're like, well, so be it then. Do you know what I mean? Because
I would say the first 20 years I probably lived and slept most dancing. Yeah. It was like it was probably too much, and then once you've done everything and there's nothing else more you can achieve, because you've won Troupe at year and you've won trainer, you've done what you're doing, and everybody, it's like you've got to drive yourself at keeping same standards and keep where you're going. But like I said, I have flattened off, and society's changed. So as people have come in and started helping with them, with the other lines, and you've given them a job to do, even though everybody's got kind of report to me, so if they're not coming to practice, they don't tell them who's practicing, they have to tell me. And then but on a Sunday I can go and sit in my deck chair and get them all, they all get ready, and then they all go off for the practices. But I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. But I still, on a Saturday night, get on edge if I'm not home and in bed in time for dancing on a Sunday, because I book all my holidays around dancing. Yeah. Like my partner will wonder why we go fly on a Monday, for like 12 days. Because it's cheap, I tell him, but it's not. We fly on a Monday for 12 days, so I only miss one Sunday dancing. Yeah. Like I go on a Monday and come back on a following Saturday, like you book your own flights, and it's so that I only miss one Sunday. Yeah. Or if you go over at bank holidays, it's not as bad.
It's better for you.
But I can leave them now. They're quite, I can leave them now. They can go out without me.
And was that always a big milestone for you? Becoming that, kind of like delegation after doing it for so long.
And nobody liked me going. They didn't like it when I'm not there. They still don't like it when I'm not there, but they're better now, than what they were. So
I think I do think it does get like that when that person's been your trainer and principal and everything else for so long, and then it does become like this person's going to help us, or we're going to do it this way. And some people don't adapt to change as well as others, but sometimes like a change is good. I feel sometimes, and obviously, like you said, with age, it becomes like you can't be doing like 7 lines and everything else that
No, you
goes
can't.
with it.
You
And
can't. I'm
managing.
not. And do. Yeah, there's going to be a time when I say can't carry on coming
Yeah.
anymore. But I touched a little bit on I've got a little granddaughter, and
Okay.
she started dancing now. So this would have been a second year, so she's 6. So so that were another little interest for me. Like sometimes you come, it's nice now. I miss all my friends. I miss sitting there and I'm all coming having a chat and seeing the little ones. You get a hug and a kiss, off them all. And I've like missed 12 years out of 12 months out of their life. I've missed seeing them grow, and come and talk to you and just like they've developed. Like what would have been Dinky's first year, like first year in your Dinkies or your last year in Dinkies going to Tinies, they've missed that. They've missed it, and I've missed seeing them, and missed chatting to mums, and like one of them's had a baby, and you've not seen the baby. You've not seen
Yeah.
it with them. You just
Yeah.
like missed out on so much, haven't you?
I think exactly. I touched on this. I bumped into someone the other day, and it was exactly the same. We'd kind of touched on the fact that you've seen a girl from, babies, dinkies, tinies, juniors, seniors, and then they've, gotten pregnant, and then,
Yeah.
You expect that person then to come back to dancing, and then you to kind of see the baby, and then it hasn't happened because of this. It's a massive deal because you've seen that, you've grew up with that person, and it's kind of like your unofficial daughter, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you've lost out on all of that.
I know. I feel it's sad.
Yeah,
It's been a real shame for him.
Yeah.
But it's not been good. But hopefully they'll all come back. And I think, when you said, when we touched before, that I don't think, because we've all been locked down, it's not like they've got another interest. They've not had time to go and get interested in anything else.
Yeah.
So it could be. We took them all a Christmas present round, like at Christmas. We got round to everybody's house and dropped them a Christmas present off. The scenes were made up. They got a gin and tonic, some socks, chocolate.
Wow.
They got medal. They got all that little bit of a parcel and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're all that close that I think they will come back, even if they say they can't just finish on this pandemic. They've probably got to all have another season or another dance or something. I'm sure they won't want to wind it up, and not come back. I'm hoping so anyway. But I don't know. You just don't know, do you?
So moving, I don't know if there's anything. There's a little thing I just wanted to speak to you about, because I remember, or touching on Morris dresses, so to speak. Because I don't know if this is true, but did you just have dresses that were made for specific comps, champs, and special comps? Did you have sparkle?
We've had different things made. You try your best to be different. If you go back into the Isle of Man stage, like one year we tried to have a dress made something like off the Torval and Dean thing, like back wings. They look horrendous now when you look back. But at the time, we do try and think it's difficult to keep coming up. Obviously, anybody knows how you would associate with being green. We have had other colours, but we love the green. And the last few years have always been the army theme, if you've seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've never been short of money or funds and that. If we've thrown money at things and popped up with dresses when you least expect, should we say. They've always joined in at all the other competitions. What's not been none. Like we went to Monaco's Christmas. They had a Christmas weekend in October. They had a weekend and they pretended that Friday was Christmas Eve.
Oh wow.
Saturday was Christmas Day and it was Boxing Day. And then on the Saturday, this was the highlight of our weekend. They give you at the meeting. They give you you put your hand in a bag and they give you a Christmas carol, and you had to perform it for 3 minutes. I tell you, it didn't matter about dancing then. It was all about the Christmas performance. So we got this song called "Here Comes Santa Claus," what none of us had heard of, and went away and performed this act. So there were probably about 20 as well. we were like, our claim to fame is that we won that one at night on the Saturday night. It was like X Factor, you know, with music. And they dressed as gingerbread birds, if you like. And
Oh,
it was,
wow.
and I sent you a picture of that one as well.
Oh,
They
fab.
love joining in anything, you know, anything like that. But by doing that, it makes your team bond.
Yeah.
It's taking it away from dancing and bonding your girls together as a team. And the last pontins that we did, they did it they did a show. They give you all a show for do, and we got Greece, and we did that last year at Etico Pontins, and the whole of Ag Full dancers.
Wow.
So all 90 of them all did a part in the Greece show, and that only had to last 3 minutes as well. So, but
Jeez.
condense everything into 3 minutes.
So
But it was
do you think you know, just touching on the fact of like associations bringing the kind of like you know, you kind of have those competitions between like April and October, and that's the competitive feel, and then having time where you can bond together with the dancers and other troupes. I think sometimes across the years that's been missed quite a lot. I would
Yeah,
feel.
I don't know whether mine's funny. Look, I'm not so sure that if the like. Do you remember like that Rita used to have a Christmas dinner dance every
Yeah,
year?
yeah. Do you still
We
have a
used to
dinner
do a
dance
dinner dance, so like, and it was like more for mums and dads and seniors.
yeah,
And like, I think people probably join in things like that. We've done a dinner dance on every special year, so like 30 years, 35 years, 40 years. And some of the other troops have come to mine, and Michael and Rita and all. I love Rita. She's like a second mom. I've written a bit something, but
oh yeah,
you know, like Rita, she like still like guides me, if you like. I can still ring her up for a chat, and like she's got her and Dina. I'll send them pictures of our new dresses. Our new dresses have been cut out and they're in bits. All they needed to be done, senior dresses, is sewn together, and I've had to stop it in March because we were having them new for,
yeah,
you know, for April.
yeah,
So like I can talk to her about anything. She's still like I can still ring her. She's like a second mum, if you like. You know, like you can still ring
yeah,
and check up on her. And then somebody else who were quite influential when I first started with my dancing troupe was Margaret Buckley. You know what had the Buckley Bells?
yeah.
Well, I don't know whether you ever watched Buckley Bells when Margaret used to sit and watch. She was always on stage, or she was always sat in front of her team, and she always had this big beaming smile, and she would clap and cheer in front of them. And then she came across to me. I was probably in my 20s. I've got a tip for you, Wendy. When you're watching your team, can you always smile, beam at your girls, and clap and cheer them on? Because your face tells a story. One of them does it wrong, or there's something that you don't like, your face is like thunder. Judges are looking at your face, and they can tell that it's not going well. So she said, you probably know more than the judges know. So always put that smile on your face. Don't let anybody know that you're not, you know, you're upset with them. So I kind of do that. I try my best, but the girls, they can tell with my face whether I'm pleased or not pleased.
Yeah.
You know, just by looking at me. But she always told me, you know, to smile. If you notice, she always did.
Yeah.
She always was. She had some great troops, and I'm Shirley Rogers from Pied Pipers as well. From the entertaining.
You know, when I was speaking to Michael about the live stream that we're going to do with Michael, because I went to his to chat about it, and we touched on a little bit about his time at LCA, and I never forget there was it was like an altercation once at a weekend, and Shirley was blamed for it, mistakenly, that the people who were there were with her, but I booked in via the camp, but were under Pied Pipers. I don't know how it was planned, but Rita had got on the mic on Sunday and said, "Look, you know, the LCA would like to apologise to a certain troupe who, you know, he was blamed for the matter," and she was just bold as brass, sat in the middle and was like, "Don't worry, Rita, it's fine. there's no love lost, anything. Rita's trying to be like diplomatic about it. And Shirley just not bothered.
She was the right character. I loved her teams, and I asked her once. I stopped dancing in 1998, and I did. I tried my best for train and dance. And then I realised if I ever wanted to move this, I could train the signs and juniors to a standard. But because I was dancing with seniors, I thought these seniors are never going to move on as long as I'm still dancing. And that was another tip what Rita said. And she said, ask Shirley, but come down to your practice, right? So I thought, all right, I'll ask Shirley. So we arranged one Sunday to have a practice. And I said, right, girls, you have to do it really good. Shirley's right now, so she had us marching on. We danced and marched off. And she went, well, that was shit. She said, do it again. So like mine at that time, we used to like, me included, dancing. We just finished it, and we were like used to all sitting down and having half an hour. No, there were no half an hour or drink. It was like turn back round and do it again if you like. And then I thought, yeah, it's all about fitness. It's all about fitness here. And then really, when I'd got a strong junior line and they were all turning 15 and 16, the real thing is to move the junior leader up, which were Jenny, then at 16, put her in the middle and work on building this senior line up. And if you remember, she went on to lead for like 20 years.
Yeah, that's somebody who I remember for the times that I've seen.
Jenny, brilliant. We've had some brilliant leaders, but she had everything, Jenny, because she weren't just like the leader.
Yeah.
She was like the mother hen.
I do think sometimes that's what you look for in a senior leader as well, as somebody to take control, not just, on the field, so to speak, but off the field.
If you remember, Rita gave a gold medal to the leader of the year at LCA.
Yeah.
And 3 of my leaders have won over the time, and one was Kerry, who was junior leader, and one was Jenny, and one was a small leader, Ashley. So like they've won like 3 gold medals off Rita, and still have them. She absolutely loves it. And if they've been with me 25 years at Agfold, I buy every girl a gold medal for 25 years service at Agfold. I thought they'd be gone by then, and then like I've had to buy a bloody watch for them now in the 30 years because they're still here.
Yeah, I'll have to stop now because you've all been here too long.
All right. Yeah, no, there's like loads of stories, isn't there?
No, don't be daft. No, what I meant was obviously you'll have to stop buying gifts because all these people are staying.
Oh, stop buying gifts. I thought you meant stop.
Don't be daft.
Oh, right. No, yeah, we have we get something for 5. They get something for every milestone, like 5. I started it off at 5 years and 10 years, and then I'm still like 30 years now, and like
you realise people
going,
and
they remember. So you've got to keep the tradition as well, going through. But there's a lot of girls like I'd have the 25 years, which is nice because they've got a really nice keepsake.
Yeah, I think as well though it's a testament to you as a person and the troupe. Keeping somebody there for that long, you obviously are doing something right when it comes to it. That's not making them want to change where they go or do any other type of activity, so to speak.
Yeah, it's good. I think it is like going forward now though. My dancing has changed where it is all about fitness. It's a bit like, because I'm into rugby league, into rugby league, so that's changed over years. That they're very disciplined now and they're super fit, and I think that's what's happened with the Morris. It's changed, and you've got to be fit.
Yeah.
I think you've got to be fitter than what they used to be. You used to remember you see girls fainting. Do you remember? And you'd like look at them. Yeah. God, none of mine would.
No.
Dare even.
I was just gonna say that to you. Yeah. I don't.
No, you just don't want any weary willies in your line, do you? You've got to be 100%.
Yeah.
Fully fit.
I'll never forget a comp when I first started judging. I remember judging Trinity, and a girl passed out, and Mrs. Trinity Elaine, she was on the back line, just for her own sake, fitness, whatever, and then she just took herself off the back line and put herself in that place. Yeah. And I just think I personally, if I couldn't do something, I wouldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? So if I couldn't do a particular activity, I wouldn't put myself through
I
the
know,
strain
you wouldn't, would you?
of doing it.
No.
When you see some of these girls, when they, I still think exactly like you just said. Then if you can do the dance, march on, march off, and then go again, that's the level of stamina that you're looking for, as
I think
opposed to
that a lot of the top teams do look like they do back-to-back practices now, especially leading up to Pontins, so that if you've got a dance off, it's not going to be a problem or anything.
Yeah,
We probably
100%.
start doing them about August.
Because obviously, exactly like you've just hit on the head, of dance off, you wouldn't know what to do. You'd kind of come off and you'd be a bit like, dance again. And you're like, yeah, and this time it's got to be like 110
Better than that
the first one was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we do it, and we always have shakers at practices as well. I go to other people's. People ask me if I go to the practices. I've been approached to take over an organisation quite recently, and I said, not a chance. I am not interested in anything like that. It's just always been about my own troupe. If I'm not going to Agpole, I'll never be going anywhere else. I'll probably not even likely go and watch any, unless like Cora wanted to carry on dancing and I'd nowhere for, but that won't happen. It wouldn't happen, I wouldn't really want to go and even help run an organisation or judge or anything. I wouldn't have any interest, because my interest is the people, my own people, not really so much anybody else's troupe, if you like.
Course.
So,
and do you think would you, if, anything did happen and it was a term of like, you're going to take it, you kind of want to, take that step back, would you take your name with you, or would you let that legacy, carry on?
I think I'd just let it. I would let it carry on, I think.
Yeah. I think
I wouldn't be one of them. Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes, people kind of do it and then you kind of realise it was either for the good or it was for the bad, whichever way you want to look at it.
Sue made, when she finished Zodiacs, she gave they started up again as a Riva Premier, or took it over as a Riva Premier. And they built themselves back up after, from then. And they've been successful enough in the time. Our girls are quite friendly with the senior girls because they've all grown up as kids, we've not seen them at Etico last year. And I think like our girls, they miss the girls.
Yeah.
Me and John have our moments, but the girls have missed the girls,
Yeah.
Because you do get used to it. And then when Flatbridge went to Troupe, we've grown up with a lot of them. I've grown up with Anne-Marie and Maureen, and we miss them. But I mean, Maureen, I think it's been there 50 years this time. So Maureen would have. I remember Maureen dancing. I remember Maureen being their senior leader, for Flatbridge.
Yeah.
Maureen Haig. So she would have a really good story for tell as well.
Yeah.
But they've had a lot of success as well over years. But yeah.
Do you think as well, because you're quite, from just chatting to you now, you're quite open to admit, other people's success as well as your own. Is that something that you've always kind of, wanted to kind of champion?
I've liked, as a troops of, I've written my favourite troops down. So like, I was telling you that about they were Poolstocking in Low and Flatbridge and Pemberton early doors, and then Zodiacs, Margonets and Embassy. And then if you remember, we had Sapphires thrown into the mix. You remember Mary what had Sapphires, and they become like quite good rivals of us. She had a fantastic junior troupe, in the, and then we've got friendly rivalry with Valencia. I really admire Nora. She always does the best with what she's got. Yeah. She works hard with the girls, and they've all grown like as the Valencia seniors were. They danced with all our girls, and they're still all quite friendly. And same with Pauline with Arcadia.
Yeah.
But I think they've missed seeing what we've all missed seeing one another, if you like.
Yeah.
As well, because you kind of on a Sunday you're watching people's little girls from other troops grow up as well, who
you've kind of been around for so long.
Yeah, and they all speak to you. I do. I tend now on a Sunday to keep myself to myself, and you know, these last few years and what have you, just concentrate on your own little line. And sometimes I don't watch anybody, I only watch my own.
Yeah.
Sit and chat with my own mums and get up when my own dance. And it's changed. It's changed.
Do you think it's changed for the better, or do you think, you know, there's ways?
I think the girls, the rivalry between the troops isn't as bitchy. I think they've all got a little bit more respect for one another. You don't see these nasty websites. Remember when they used to all
gossip sites and
flag you off on the website?
Exactly.
I'm glad that all went. You know.
Yeah.
So I think that's better. But I think the girls themselves, still think people would like outdoor competitions. I know you can't rely on the weather, but for little girls come dancing, all they're doing, and the mums are bringing them in the morning, and they're dancing, and maybe they're probably on by 1 o'clock, so they're not really getting the true idea of dancing. Yeah. But they have tried these days to get a sports hall with a swimming bath or something for them to do. But to be honest, people don't want to sit in a sports hall all day on a Sunday.
Yeah.
They don't, do they?
No, I think exactly like what you've just said. I think you know, carnivals were a big thing, and then I think as the kind of competitivism moved forward, it was more so, oh, we need to dance in sports halls, and it needs to be like a, you know, this, that, and the other. And then I think now there's too many people who are kind of stuck in that, you know, stride, so to speak. That like when they do go and dance outside, or they dance in like alternative venues, you know, you kind of like, you see the better teams who have obviously trained for those moments. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, we're out on grass this week, so we'll go local park or something and have a little go and make sure that, like, you know what you.
I can understand. I think it all went with this public liability insurance. I think all the carnivals went because they couldn't get anybody. They can't get insured now. Yeah. You know, because if anybody gets hurt, why they dance, you know, like not just why they're dancing or why they're at these events. So I think that's why they've been cancelled. But even so, you'd like to think you could get like a school, you know, or like that the one at Liverpool when they danced in front of the Liver building.
I remember that. Yeah, they did that for a few troops. A couple of associations did that because the majorettes did it as well.
Yeah, something like that. Just something. Don't have to be every week. No. Or if you're going to go in sports halls, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's summer or winter. So you could do 2 a month for longer months. Yeah. You know, rather than every single Sunday you're in a sports hall. Yeah. Because I think that is when the mums get a little bit fed up and they don't want to stay there all day. Yeah. And it's hard for others because say that they've got a little girl in babies and dinkies and you're a senior, then you're there from 9:30 until home time. Yeah, definitely. And then if you do work full time and you've got an husband and then you've only got Saturday with them, then it suppose it is a long day. Yeah. I'm not bothered because John's he loves Sundays. He's like, get rid of them.
And how has he had to kind of like, you know, in the early years, was it kind of adapting to, you know, you being...
Oh, it's strange. You know? I've only been with John for, I think it's since 1998, which is when I stopped dancing. Oh, okay. So I think, and it's changed where it was like my whole focus. All of a sudden my life like changed a little bit. So it weren't the main thing in my life after that with dancing, so it changed a little bit. But he doesn't mind me going to dancing, but he's not interested. Yeah. It's all. In 1998, I went to Buckingham Palace. I won an award for service to the community. So there's a picture of that. Yeah. And you could only, because I wasn't married, you could only take one person. So it's either your parent. You could take your child with you, but Martin was only about 11. So you could take your parent, you could take a parent or your partner. And I said to him, do you want to come? And he went, nah, take your dad. You know, like, so I didn't think he would want to come anyway, but my mum and dad and me and Martin all went down to London. But I was only allowed the one person into the palace with me, so I thought my dad came in with me, my mum and dad, and my dad and Martin. went off doing something else.
Yeah.
But that was another nice, you know, like you feel like you've been awarded with something. Obviously, somebody from Magpul must have put my name forward.
Yeah.
But you go for the day on that. And we made like a couple of days in London with it. We're watching Saturday Night Fever, you know, at the Palladium and that while we was there. But it's a really nice memory as well, because we wouldn't have got where we were if it hadn't been for my mum and dad, you know, always being behind me with the Agfold as well. My mum and her friend Helen, who is Mrs. B, who was my treasurer, and she's 85 now. Her 3 girls all danced and still come, and her granddaughters dance as well. And one of her granddaughters is Laura, who's always with me, who helps with the troupe now. So like, it's still been a big family bond, if you like.
Wow.
And they're all like kept best friends. So it's, I don't know, it's just like a way of life for me.
Yeah.
But John's never bothered. So he puts up with them all coming here, and he puts up with people have got divorced and come crying, and then people have come for money, and then people have, can you borrow me this? And they've been on holiday. We've been on holiday, and he puts up with it all, and he doesn't mind. But as long as he doesn't need to come dancing, he's fine.
It's just, I think sometimes, you know, like you've said, you know, it's, you know, they have to kind of take an undertaking in terms of it's a big part of your life, and it always has been, and it's kind of like,
yeah,
you know, this is what I do. You know, you either accept me for it or you don't, and obviously it seems like it's been a perfect match for you.
Yeah, we've done weddings, christenings, divorces, second wedding. Into second wedding. There's lots of stories I could tell you, but that's nothing to do with my responsibility. No. It's funny.
Yeah. So just finishing up now, because we're kind of coming to just past the hour mark. Is there anything more that you feel you want to share with people out there? If it was any memories or moments, or you know.
No, I've just, like I've said, it's been a part of my life for 44 years. I'm not saying that I couldn't manage without it, but I certainly couldn't manage without all my friends, you know, like what I've made over years, and the friends from the other teams. It's hard now because you've seen a lot of the oldies, like, disappear. We've, like, lost quite a few members, haven't we, from our Carnival World.
Yeah.
And I just don't know whether the young ones are going to be as dedicated and carrying it forward as you know, like the older ones have done.
Yeah.
You know.
I would hope, you know, kind of seeing little things like this, and touching on. We spoke a little bit before about Steve from Monaco's. He's just recently been on Gary Melia's podcast, and he talks about Troupe World as well. Having these insights to you know, the kind of the good old days, it's seeing, you know, it's not all, you know, doom and gloom, and it's not all, you know, so we've had this year, you know, there's been hurdles, I suppose, throughout your 44 years. I suppose, you know, this is the biggest in terms of not being out for an entire season. It
could have an adverse effect, because it could make you think that you actually do want to do dancing, because they'll have missed it more than what they probably thought they would have. And it'll make them assess why they do come dancing. Do they come to dancing because they like on a Sunday putting a dress on and dancing? Or do they come because they're part of a family and a community and it's the friendship? It might make them evaluate what they actually come to dancing for.
That's definitely something I've said to my mum. I've said, you know, I think there'll either be, there's two types of people who are going to stay. You know, it's going to be the people exactly like everything you've just mentioned, and then the people who drift away are going to be those who obviously didn't have an interest, who just come because it was a hobby the mate did, or it was just a hobby.
Yeah. I would say, out of all mine, I would say 95% of them are probably absolutely dedicated and will come back, you know, and they won't want to end the dancing career, if you like, as a one last dancing Kirby Sports Centre in March 2020.
Yeah.
Even if they don't finish as a winner, they wouldn't want to. They'd want finish as a champ. They wouldn't want to finish as a, you know, just as a pandemic memory. I'm sure they wouldn't. So let's hope, and let's hope the organisations and the other troops are going to be strong enough to come back.
Yeah.
That's another thing, is it? Can they build have they got can they build it back up?
Yeah, that is the biggest thing, isn't it? And keeping the troops there, and obviously touching on the fact, Tracy doing her things during lockdown. I've seen Etico were doing competitions as well. I suppose everyone's just
They've
been
done a little
trying to
bit.
do
Ours have not
their
been
bits.
joining. Like I said, they've not even been joining in any of them. But they are a bit odd. They do keep they do they do keep themselves to themselves.
Yeah.
It's the odd few do. There's not a lot of mine. They don't go into these marching competitions. There not a lot of them. They don't. They're just. They don't. I try and encourage them, but they're not having any of it. They just do what they do their own thing.
Yeah.
But every troope's different, aren't they? But
Yeah, exactly.
it's been nice to
Everyone has
talk
their own
about
way.
it. What you've made me do is you've made me think, because you've asked me for weekend things at weekend. Like I've got memory books that they've done for me and books out and that, and it's made me look back and think, you know what, Wendy, you've had a great time with all these girls, and you've got a lot of memories, and you've got a lot of friends. I've never going to be on my own either. Like I said, I've no brothers and sisters or any. I've not got a big family or anything.
Yeah.
But so really, all them up there are my family. So
Yeah.
I will miss them if I couldn't get back to dancing. So with a bit of luck, fingers crossed, Jordan, we can build it back up again.
Definitely. I think that's the perfect way to finish. I feel it's everything you've mentioned has been absolutely perfect, and I couldn't have asked for a better first guest. Wow, how amazing. I really hope you enjoyed our talk with Wendy. The Carnival Ball story for me was absolutely fantastic. And obviously hearing about Wendy's mum and dad and how they started and, moved into the carnival world. I, for one, didn't know who Wendy's parents were. Again, like I said, Wendy touched on the fact that Hagfold is just much more than a name. It's a family, and those girls stay, 25 plus years. 35 plus years she's had some of those girls there for. And it's a testament of her time that she's definitely been doing something right. So good on you, Wendy. Thank you for being our first Morris guest. I would also like to just give a quick shout out to someone who I've kind of made friends with, although I've known him in the carnival world for some time, Mr. Gary Melia of Colette's, although it's not a Colette's entity, but he's been starting up a podcast about Troupe World, and he's been touching on some very iconic people in the entertaining world, and just recently interviewed Steve from Monaco, and it was a fantastic insight into Steve's life. And if you haven't already, then please do go over and check out Gary's Troupe World podcast there on Spotify. So hopefully we can put a little link below and you can go over to that, because it really is a treat. So, as you know at the start, I spoke about Buy Me a Coffee. We're still going to keep the Buy Me a Coffee going. So if you've enjoyed Wendy's episode, if you can donate £2, £3, £4, whatever, the cost of entry into a hall, even if it's £1, then it really does go a long way. It enables us to keep these podcasts going, to eventually achieve more in conversations, some more live streams with people face to face, given the COVID restrictions. And it just brings a glimmer of hope that just maybe 2021 might be a time that we can get back out on those arenas. I, for one, would definitely go outside and judge in December if it meant a glimmer of hope of being back out there. Thank you very, very much for watching this first episode, and we'll see you back here for episode 2.